Okay, so today you are going to watch a video of me throwing what will become a mug. And so when I create my mugs, I use about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of clay. And measuring clay out and weighing it to make sure that it's the right size for your pieces is really important. So I'm patting it down and getting it stuck to the wheel head. Used a little bit of water, which creates a suction. I want to get it as close to the center as possible, and I really want to make sure that it's stuck. So once I do that, I can start to center. Centering is where I am pushing into the side of the clay, but also pushing down onto the clay. We want to make sure that the clay isn't wobbling or moving around. And so you can see one hand is on top in a fist, and the other hand is behind the clay, and then I am coning. So coning pulls the clay up, and then coning brings the clay back down. This works out any air bubbles or any inconsistencies in the clay until it is perfectly centered. Once it's centered, I can open. So I push my thumb down until I have about 1/4 inch of clay left at the bottom before the wheel head. So I can measure that with a pin tool, look at the thickness. When I know I'm at 1/4 inch, I can start to further open my pot. So I'm pulling the piece open, creating a floor, or what is the bottom of that pot. Once I've opened it as far as I want to, I will use a dry sponge and press it inside of the pot to compress the bottom. Then I will start to pull. So pulling is the process of lifting the walls of the clay and thinning them out. So you have one hand on the outside and one hand on the inside, and you squeeze and move up. Because I want this to be a mug, I am pulling the clay up into a cylinder, very slowly and steady. And each time I do this, the walls get thinner and taller. I'm aiming for 1/4 inch, so I can feel that out. And if I have any thick areas, I can do another compression or pull. I can cut off a little bit of extra clay at the bottom, and that will also thin out my walls. And then I'm going to come back in, do another pull just to thin out that bottom. The bottom third of pots tend to be a little bit thicker, and that's the area that we struggle with when we're new to throwing. But I'm also going to start shaping here. So you can see this pot is starting to belly out. I'm pushing on it from the inside to create a curve or a belly because I want my mug to be curved. And this pot will respond to pressure. So if I apply pressure on the inside pushing out, it will belly the mug. If I apply pressure on the outside pushing in, it can collar the piece into a more narrow form. You will often see that I am pulling water out of the mug. You use a lot of water when you throw. And so you have to make sure that you are removing that water at intervals as well. This is a collar, pulling the form in and making it narrow. I'm focusing on the lip of the piece. Remember, if we're making something we're going to drink out of or use, you want that lip round and smooth and thin. You don't want to have any flat spots. You don't have any sharp edges. I'm cutting the top because I feel like this was a little bit too tall for a mug. So I just cut a little bit off, and then I'm going to re-round that out. I can use my metal rib to clean up any extra slip that's collecting on the outside. It's good for helping me shape because I'm trying to bring the top of the mug in a little bit. I often will get off of the wheel and look at my piece from the side because it looks very different from a side view as opposed to being on top of it while you're throwing. So it's always a good idea to get off of the pottery wheel and step away from your piece and look at it from a distance. I decided I wanted to belly that out a little bit more. One final cleanup. You can see I used the curved part of the metal rib. This is so those straight edges don't gouge into the side of this piece. Again, focusing on the lip of it, rounding it out, nice and smooth. Little cleanup on the inside. And then a final cut on the bottom, just to clear off that little bit of extra clay. Clean that up a little bit. Cut it away. Use my wire cutters, slide under the piece so I can cut it off the wheel, kind of glide that along the pool of water I added, and I can put that on a wear board.